Welcome to Southaven Business Beat, exploring business from the top of Mississippi. Business and community leaders talk with us to provide invaluable resources to aid the business community. And now, here's your host, Robby Yates.
Aaron, well, today on Southaven Business Beat, we have Aaron Cozort. Ken, thank you so much for your time, for being here today. I know that you're a busy man with Wisdom Integrators, and really looking forward to learning about that, your company, and unpackaging everything, how the chamber's benefiting you and your business. But first of all, man, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Robby. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be part of Southaven Business Beat.
Yeah, well, man, I appreciate your time, like I said before. And I know with Wisdom Integrators, I know we talked a little bit before off air about what you're doing for your customers and running the gamut of like the industry of how you're providing service. And I like how you said you're really benefiting people and not making them having to work for the technology, but making the technology work for them, making it a lot easier. Can you kind of dive into that and explain how you're benefiting those?
Absolutely. So when you're dealing with technology, it's very easy to get technology creep in your business, where more and more, and every time you turn around, there's another piece of technology you need. And you can eventually get to the point where you have too much technology or you have the wrong technology because it's been piecemealed, and we've all seen the spaghetti that some technology turns into. Yep. And so what we try and do is approach technology with a solution-based focus where we're solving real problems, real headaches, and sometimes those problems are the technology that a business is using, but we're focused on a goal. We're focused on solving a real need that's impacting the business. So an area where that comes into focus is, say for instance, you've got a small business or even a larger business, and they're still operating on those old DSL copper wire connections in their business, and once a week the internet goes out regularly. It just starts getting slow, and they're simply utilizing technology that's either been in their wall or that's been coming into their building for 15 or 20 years, but their use of that technology has exponentially grown in the same 15 years. And so it just simply cannot keep up. So an area where we've worked a lot is being able to build up the internal network where a company resides there in their building, whether that be increased Wi-Fi or increased connectivity wired into their devices, but then also focused on bringing them fiber connectivity, working with providers in the industry that are providing true business class connections that can keep a business on and operating 24 hours a day, or even if you're just an 8 to 5 business, where you're not constantly going, why is this taking so long? Why is this not working? Yeah. The internet's out again. So we focus on solving those type of problems across different business sets, whether it be in the physical location with our IT solutions, whether it be a web design or web hosting solution for your website, if your website's ancient, old, and just needs to be revamped, but needs to stay current with the technology. That's one of the things we're always focused on, is staying current, but staying current not just for the sake of spending money, staying current because it's actually bringing more and more value, so that the value that you're getting from the technology you're using grows faster than the bill. Yeah,
I like how you're making that ease, and then you touched on earlier, and if you can, that example you gave off air, and I thought that was really poignant. I think the listeners would like to hear that about how the value brings somebody, because you're talking about how they're experiencing a bunch of problems through connectivity throughout the day, and then with the simplicity of a solution actually made it easier for them.
Yeah, we had a client that was on a connection that was an older style connection, copper in the ground type connection, and as a result of that, they had remote connections they had to make back to central servers because they were an insurance agency, and they had to connect back to that main insurance office's servers and everything, and their connections were going down like 18 times a day.
Wow.
And it wasn't that the whole internet was going down, and they couldn't figure it out because the internet was up. They could go browse Google just fine, but the problem was that the type of connection they needed, they didn't understand. And so anytime the latency on their connection got bad, and it wouldn't be bad enough you couldn't watch YouTube, but YouTube uses this great big buffer of multiple seconds of video so that when you see that latency happen, you never see it happen on the video. So they could do daily work like that just fine, but they would lose their connection to the server, and they'd have to start the process of doing a quote over and over and over again while their client's sitting there just twiddling their thumbs. And so we got them on a fiber connection, and they haven't had an issue in 3 years.
Wow.
So that type of solution where it is night and day, going from this is a pain point, this is always a struggle for us, we need this fixed, to here's a solution. And we're not bringing in the type of scenario where we say, well, you need to pay us a 3-year contract. We're working on behalf of that business owner, because when they're doing business, they're successful. And the next time they have a problem, they're going to know who to call.
Yeah, you talked about a minute ago about the contract. Is that something that, because if people are worried about getting locked in, how do you navigate that course, if you will?
Yeah, so there are some solutions, obviously, that are in a contract environment, like an internet connection would be for a business. But where we approach it is we're not necessarily going out trying to just build up a portfolio of retainers. We're solving problems for businesses, and so as a result, we want the business to come to us and say, we have a problem, and then they have a solution, and then it makes sense to pay for that. And because we're a small business, we deal with those same issues. We don't want to be shelling money out every month for something we're not getting value for. And so our focus has always been that the customer's value out of anything that we do is the most important thing. And if it provides more value than it costs them, then that's business.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a no-brainer. I like how you put in them first versus the company's pockets first. What we can do to drive revenue, it's actually would benefit them the most.
Absolutely.
How is that far as a business within the chambers, and how long have you been a part of the chamber?
So we've been a part of the chamber since 2021. Matter of fact, we just had our renewal, so we're in our second year. And the chamber was something we had looked at, but we had never really sat down and had a conversation with anyone. So we came by one day and had a conversation with Debbie, and it made sense. Because the reality is, our business is built on relationships. We're not out selling to everybody. We're focused on our niche of smaller companies, sometimes even micro companies that have less than 10 people, but at a scale that we can continue to service their needs and they can rely on us. But at the same time, we're more focused than anything on building relationships, so that a business owner can pick up the phone and say, I need something now. And that's been one of the advantages from the chamber is we've had a number of individuals who weren't our clients be referred to us by the chamber, and they said, hey, call Aaron. And when I picked up the phone, we were able to be at their business within an hour, and they had just gotten off the phone with a larger IT company that said, well, we can get you in next week or the week after. And we showed up an hour later, and before the end of the day, the problem was solved. So that's the type of solution that we strive for. And not that every solution happens within a day, but that we're responsive to, this is a critical issue that keeps your business from operating. So we want to get you back operating if there's something. My background comes from broadcast television. So I was an IT administrator in broadcast television network, and we were on 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. We couldn't be offline. And so I learned to very much appreciate the impact of the inability to work. And so we always have focused on that idea that if this is something that keeps you from operating, what can we do? If we can't solve the problem immediately, what can we do to bridge the gap? And then get you back operating and then work on the solution.
We're taking a second to thank our sponsors. Follow App. The Follow App is the long-term solution for networking. instantly connecting you to those frequently missed opportunities to find the right referral partner or new client to grow your business. Wisdom Integrators. Are you a business owner and is technology getting in the way of your business? If your computers are slow, your website is horrible, or your business needs more efficiency, then it's time to reach out to Aaron Cozort and Wisdom Integrators. Pure Focus Media. Have an event coming up? Let us capture all the moments that will create memories that will last a lifetime with our professional photographer and videographer. Also announcing our new digital selfie photo booth. Book with us today. Be sure to share and subscribe for more business resources. Now back to Southaven Business Beat and host Robby Yates.
Okay, and you touched on a minute ago about your niche. I know it's small business, even sometimes on the micro side as well. Is there a set industry, or is there really just anybody that really needs your service, and on the multitude of levels that you guys provide, they would reach out to you, or you just say, hey, you know what? Or would you assess the problem and say, hey, we're not a fit, or is it pretty much anybody that needs your service would need it?
If someone is in a scenario where they have a something that's stopping the business from running and they need a solution right now, we're going to try and provide that solution unless we know it's just way too far outside of our wheel set to do, or wheelhouse to do. Our niche is not particularly an industry, but instead a size. We're a small company. We've got 4 employees. We're not looking to deal specifically at this point with a 1,000 employee company dealing with their IT operations. We could come in and do a specific job for them. Hey, we need wire run from here to here. But supporting 1,000 users with a phone desk of support agents, that's not what we're into. We're more looking at this at local market solutions, and especially small business solutions, to say, here's your problem, here's the solution you need, let's deliver that solution.
I love it. I like how y'all are focused on the small business owners. And you touched on it a minute ago, and I thought it was interesting how the Southavens benefit your business. I know Debbie's a great connector, and she connects you with some people that need help or y'all service. And just kind of explain to more of that, of how you really, I know your second year in, which obviously you're getting some benefits, so you're going to renew the membership. But in turn of like that first year, probably tough to like put a value on it. But what would you say of like the impact has been on your business so far, being a part of the chamber?
One of the things that we found, we approach every relationship from this perspective, and it goes back to even the name, Wisdom Integrators. You know, when you start looking at relationships and how you build relationships, how you build understanding and connections, if you're not bringing anything to the table, you're only taking things off the table. It's hard to build a relationship that way. So we approached the chamber at the very outset with, okay, what can we add to the chamber? Because as the chamber is more capable of serving the community, that brings more value to us. And so one of the very first things that we did with the chamber is we happened to show up on a day where the Christmas parade was being planned. And we just, they came in to ask a question and just so happened to have a conversation. They said, hey, could you automate this process we have for the Christmas parade where we used to have to print off all of the order of who was going to go next to get it and run it down to the table where the announcer was, and we just automated it to where it all happened through the web. It was updated on one end and it was live on the other, and there was no paper involved. And so that opportunity led to a few others to just volunteer to do some things for the chamber. But what changed is as we did things for the chamber, we got visibility. And someone came up to us and said, I see what you're doing with the quarterly luncheon. Do you do this? And that has turned into multiple jobs that has more than paid for the renewal on the account with the chamber. And it is that opportunity to say, wait a minute, what can I bring? And when I serve others, I'm not doing it for notice, but people notice. And so, it is that casual conversation where, and Debbie's great about this, and the other folks at the chamber are great about this, where when you've solved your problem, or when solved their problem, like how do we do this without paper?
Yeah.
Then it's easy to say, oh yeah, you need to talk to Aaron about your problem because you've already done it. So that's one of the things I highly recommend with any organization like the Chamber is go, what can I do for the Chamber because it helps the community? And by serving the community, you then provide the opportunity for someone to say, wow, I didn't know you could solve that.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Here's one of the things that I have a problem with.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, because it is, when people go into business, they do want to do stuff for the community and their customers and have that outreach. And it's a great outlet for that and a sounding board for them. And for you, I love how you mentioned several times about the relationships you're forging within the Chamber. And from that, how does it look when somebody, let's say you take on a client, if you will, and when they're with you, I already know the answer, but I feel like I know the answer. When you work with them, is it a one and done? Or you're like, let's say if I take you on and need some service, you help me out, great. You mentioned somebody earlier, 3 years in. How much do you still stay in contact with that one customer you mentioned for 3 years of solving their problem? Is it a one and done, or are they only reach out to you when they need help?
It depends on the client. We are, like I mentioned earlier, we're not really focused on building a portfolio of retainers. We're more focused on individual solutions, but we do have clients who need managed services. They need to know that we can solve their problem, so that they bring on a new employee and they need a new account for Office or for Google Workspace or for this or that. They don't want to deal with it, and they don't want to have to think about what kind of computer do I need to buy. They just want to pick up the phone and say, Aaron, we've got a new employee. They're going to be here on Friday. Can you have something here by Wednesday and have it ready to go? And so it goes back to this mindset that says, if you build a relationship, it's never one and done.
Exactly.
If you build a contract, it may be one and done. As soon as that contract's over, someone will say, sorry, that relationship didn't work for me, so the contract is not worth renewing. And that's what we have always focused on, is building the relationship. So, and the reality is this: technology moves so fast. We don't have to create problems. We don't have to invent problems when we walk into businesses. They're dealing with this onslaught of technology and the need to grow their business in a technology world. And technology in and of itself presents the problems. What we're trying to do is make manageable, cost-effective solutions for those business owners. And that's really who we primarily deal with. We deal with business owners or managers who say, I need this solved because I need to do my real work. I need to be about focusing on my business. So take care of that. And call me when you're done. Those are the type of relationships that we generally build.
Man, I admire that. And the stuff that the level of service you provide, you've touched on it a little bit about the connectivity aspect of it, or if somebody's trying the simplicity side, or they're getting disconnected multiple times. What are all the level of services? It could be a wide variety, but just so we have an idea if somebody's wanting to, like, well, can they help with this? Because you said before you were doing the Lander Center during the Cordial Luncheon, and they weren't sure if you could help them out with something, and they came up to you like, yeah, sure, we do that. So what would be some of the examples that y'all provide?
So we provide IT services, managing router connectivity and managing a network within a business's location. And that can scale fairly large depending upon the needs of the network. We also help facilitate internet connectivity, whether that be through fiber providers or just setting up a standard business connection. We also do work across the IT spectrum with providing computer solutions, server solutions for a business. And then kind of bridge also over to the web technologies. We build websites, we design automation online so that your website's not old and drab and never gets updated, but instead you go post something on Facebook maybe about your website and the website updates itself automatically, or you drop a document in a folder on your computer and the website updates itself automatically and pushes it to Facebook. Those type of solutions where you take what used to take you 30 minutes a day to do, and you make it 2 minutes a day, and now you have value. And then we also, because of our background in audio video production, we work in the audio video space. So we do everything from production on site to setting up spaces, for instance, for live streaming or for remote meetings.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of houses of worship to do live streaming, video installation setups, because we've been doing live streaming for 10 years, back before YouTube was doing it.
Yeah, okay.
So we know that industry very well, and can provide solutions all the way from broadcast level down to, I just need to reliably send out my Zoom connection and know that it's going to work when I press a button.
Okay.
So pretty wide array, but it all falls into this main idea. There's a problem. How do I fix it?
Yep.
And that's really what we've always been about.
Okay. And then for the businesses as well, I know we touched on it, and everything you provide. What about does it have to be, and everything COVID obviously shift a lot of people indoors, working remote, having teams scattered throughout. Do you work with people within their homes, or do they have to have a brick and mortar?
Work with people in their homes or brick and mortar. Okay. We do a lot of remote assistance because remote work was something we started doing a decade ago as well. And so when COVID happened, everyone that we knew started calling us and saying, how do we work remote, and how do we live stream, and how do we do Zoom? Because we were doing those a really long time ago, when the rest of the business community hadn't even thought about it yet. Sure. So no, we work across the whole array. So if somebody's got a home office that they need set up, we can work with that. If somebody wants it in their brick and mortar location, or if somebody needs a managed service or something that's not even in state, we can solve that as well. If that's one of the things that's happening a lot more in businesses, they're hiring people who aren't local to them, but they've always had all their employees in the building. So they're trying to figure out how to make those type of solutions work. And that's an area where we can help, because we've been doing it for a really long time. Yeah,
fantastic. And I'll bring it back to the chamber for a second. What is the thing that you value the most from your membership?
I think one of the things that really has impacted us is the opportunity to go to things like the quarterly luncheon, the Christmas parade, the other events, some of the after hour stuff, and meet people in a setting where they're not in a hurry. Because when you're in business and you're trying, somebody walks in your door to sell you something, which we don't do very often. We're generally walking in the door and you're going, oh, good, I'm glad you're here. We love that reaction. Except we don't want it to happen because of something we did. But the opportunity in a relaxed setting to have a conversation, to introduce ourselves, and really be able to get to know what people do for a living. But really, one of the biggest advantages we've had is just the way that the chamber is so good about referring people that they know are reliable, and members who are giving and willing to serve the community. That referral function of the chamber has been spectacular for us.
Thank you for joining us. Like what you see and hear? Please tell others and subscribe.